Yeah, I think my description of happiness is the absence of convenience.
Growing up in the Western world, the society tells us that we always need more to be happy. But what if it's not about getting more, but rather needing less? When I went through life experiencing things and meeting new people, I realized that true happiness comes from really basic things. During a recent trip, I met Rachel and Josh, and this couple chose to step away from their fast life in California and wanted to learn a different way of living. A simple life surrounded by nature and basics. I spent 2 weeks with them on a sailboat in French Polynesia, and today I share with you their beautiful story. A different way to move through life.
For me, I never felt really at home in the city, in the fast-paced life. Everything is pulling from you all the time for your attention. We're being advertised to constantly on the radio, on billboards. Every time I go shopping, it's just constant advertisement. For as long as I can remember, I've always enjoyed going out into nature, into the quiet places, surrounding myself with nature and animals. That's just always where I felt like I could be most myself. The dream was always, even when I first started modeling, was to save up enough money to buy a boat.
Yeah, so as a kid, I always had the dream of going sailing and an adventure. And when I met Rachel, she was a passionate traveler and ocean enthusiast. And so when our paths crossed, it just made sense to go and travel the world by boat. The perfect piece of dead tree. We'll make a little shelter tonight for when it starts to rain and we cook our fish. So this will be one piece of it. Try to find a couple of pieces with a Y. So we can put a piece across and then use palm leaves to cover it. And it'll be a great spot for you and I, and Rachel can find her own spot. I love the feeling of being very remote, very cut off from civilization, where you're more dependent on your own abilities than what you can go and buy. Instead of going to the grocery store, we dive into the ocean with a spear gun. Instead of going for a walk down a city street, we go for a swim with 50 sharks. It keeps every day is really magical.
The ocean fascinates me for many reasons, but my favorite is probably because you just never know what you're going to experience or see. It makes me feel like a child again. I always approach the ocean with wonder. This morning we're going to be diving in Atoll Pass. A pass is where water comes in and out of the lagoon. Twice a day the incoming tide comes in and twice a day it goes out. So this morning we're going to be diving the incoming flood tide. This is when the sharks aggregate. There's about 700 that live in this pass, and they all gather to basically put their noses into the strong current so they can breathe. It's a way for them to relax after hunting all night. It's funny, you'd think that you would have adrenaline, but here it's this deep peace, this calm. The sharks aren't moving fast. They hardly even notice you. They're almost like in a zombie-like state. And for me, that makes me even slow down even more. Like seeing their eyes look at you and then look away. Just their movements are slow. It helps me to slow down and just take in the beauty all around me. Every time I'm looking out at a beautiful landscape or I'm underwater, I frame everything as if I had a camera in front of my eye. I've just kind of always seen the world that way. It's how I want to remember a place. I try to capture it in my mind's eye, even if I don't have my camera. So for me, I don't take photos really for other people. It's at the heart of it, it's for me. It's to remember the places that I go, how I want to remember them, who I want to remember. So over the years, we've sought out the more remote places in the world, and inevitably we meet people living in these very quiet, remote corners of the world. And most of them have very little. They don't have cars, they don't have satellite TV, some of them don't even have phones. And I don't want to overgeneralize people living in these places, but a lot of times their life is simple and they're happier. They always have a smile on their face.
These guys are going to teach me how to spearfish. The Tahitians are legendary watermen, so I'm pretty excited to get shown how to go fishing. So right now we're right on the inside of the pass, which is about sunset when the sharks start to come out a little bit more. So it's going to be a little interesting. Oh fuck, it's crazy. This guy's a frickin' sniper. The simplicity in their lifestyle is that they don't feel the need to go and buy all of this extra stuff. And I think that's something that, for me, before we sailed to the Tuamotus, it was always what's next, what's the next big thing? And I've learned really to take joy in each little activity through the day. So this is ginger and garlic and a little bit of oil, and we're just packing a little bit of it into each one of these cuts, and then as it goes on the fire it'll be flat and the cuts will kind of be closed, and it'll just kind of steam in there as we cook it, probably about 10 minutes on each side. Mwah, perfect.
Qu'est-ce que t'aimes dans ce style de vie ici, comparé à vivre dans une ville par exemple comme Papeete?
Ici il y a tout, j'ai tout ce que j'ai besoin. La vie que je mène ici, je trouve que c'est une vie facile. T'as pas besoin de gagner autant d'argent ici. Avec tout ce qu'il y a ici, tu peux vivre. T'as le copra, t'as la pêche. Ici t'as rien à payer, juste le nécessaire quoi, pour la vie. Pour la maison, c'est tout. J'ai vécu cette vie depuis mon enfance et je pense qu'il n'y a pas plus meilleur que ça.
So everyone has a different description of happiness and what makes them content. I think often it's dictated by society and what society tells us happiness looks like. But over the years, as I've removed myself from normal society, I've found that it's not having more, it's experiencing more that brings true joy in my life, true contentment and happiness.
I think for the generation that's coming up right now, always connected with a phone, always having internet or a television, the most powerful or the most important recognition is that it's a distraction. A year from now or 5 years from now, it won't matter what photo was liked or what reel was really popular or a meme. All of those memories are just going to get washed away in a heartbeat. I mean, they're going to be gone in a week. And you spend so many hours on your phone when you can be building real memories.
We hope that our voyage and our adventures inspire others to see that there's a different way of living, a better way of living, I would like to say, that doesn't involve as much stuff. Because we live a simple life, we don't have to work as much, which gives us more time, which gives us more freedom to spend in nature. You can go out into nature at any point, any time, and it doesn't cost you anything.
When you're in school, you're only taught one way of living, and there's so many different paths that somebody can take. You don't have to be a doctor, a fireman, or a nurse. You can be a sailor, you can be an explorer. There's still so much to see and experience. This planet still has so many secrets left to discover that you really can just let your imagination run wild.